Hello. So the baby is currently swinging, taking a nap. So he's been sleeping for a while now after we got back from the chiropractors. So hopefully he will stay sleeping just a little bit longer. But I'm going to basically get right into it. So my original due date was August 20th. That's what the ultrasound tech said, even though I said I'm pretty sure it's going to be the 26th due date, whatever. That really didn't really come into play till later, till my midwives right at the end of my pregnancy. I had already gone past the 20th by almost 10 days, and they were like, we're gonna look at your ultrasounds again, and they basically said, yeah, I think you're more towards the 26th. So they changed my due date when I had, like, I was already past it, so it was kind of like, are you kidding me? But yeah, so I had a lot of Braxton Hicks. I started having them pretty much every day, a lot, and they were getting, you know, stronger, and I'd never been in full-term labor before, so I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I've seen it, but I hadn't experienced it, obviously. So I kept in close contact with my midwives, and yeah, so I finally, it was August 31st, and I had having pretty consistent contractions. They were getting stronger, and I went on a few long walks and walked the stairs and all the things. And I finally, around 2 in the morning, called my midwife and said, my contractions are like between 3 and 5 minutes apart for the last almost 2 hours. Can I come in? And she's like, yeah. So, because in my mind, I had already thought I'd been laboring at home, you know, the whole thing. Me and my husband were doing it for as long as possible at home, and then call the midwife. So we get up to the birth center, and by the way, the birth center that I was going to be at, they had some kind of, they had to deal with like some kind of remodeling and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up being at a different birth center, same midwives, but different birth center. So we finally get up there, and my contractions are getting stronger and closer together, as you would think. And then I was there with my family, and in my mind it was going really well. I felt like I could get kind of a rhythm going, but the midwife said that he was face up, so meaning that he was, if he would come out right now, his face would be up instead of down. So like the posterior, anterior, posterior, yeah. So that was I was like, come on buddy, you gotta turn around. So we kept laboring, and then contractions kind of started mellowing out, and then basically my labor stopped after 22 hours up there, and so they sent me home. So I was super, it was really hard for me mentally and emotionally, because I really wanted my son to be born in August, because my last baby that I miscarried at about, it was almost 18 weeks along, I had September 6th of last year. So mentally I thought I could do it if nothing about this birth resembled my last birth. So I was convinced that that had to be August, and so I was just like, okay. On the way home I cried, I grieved it, and I said, okay Lord, this baby's coming in September. So I had a few moments at home where I was pretty over it. I was like, this is craziness, what the heck? And so, especially when I was so sure that I was gonna have a baby in my arms the next time I came home. So that was really hard, coming home empty-handed again, and so it kind of brought up some stuff again. So a couple nights later, I was contracting way more intense this time, and it had been all day, about 24 hours, pretty intense contractions, but they were about 20 minutes apart still. So, but they were way more intense than the last one. So flash forward, I labor all night and they're getting closer. Finally we get 8 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart. I'm like, for the love of God, get there. And so finally I was not doing very well. I was in the bath, out of the bath, I was stretching, my husband was, you know, pushing on my back and everything, and mentally I needed some change. So I finally called my midwife and I said, listen, I'm crying. Like, these are getting really intense, and the last 2 times they checked me I was still at a 3 and a 4, so I hadn't really dilated over a week and a half's time. So we headed up there, and immediately they checked me and they're like, you're about the same, but let's go ahead, we really think you're close, because my contractions were about 1 to 2 minutes apart once I got to the birth center. Now once I got there, I said I couldn't, kind of had a few contractions, and I was standing around, I was like, when can I get in this tub? And they were like, right now. So Derek and I both got in the tub, and I labored for quite a few more hours. We got there at 8:15 a.m. on September 4th. And so at 8, so around 1 o'clock, they checked me again after laboring that, or with those close contractions. I had like my music on, I had low lights, you know, I had the candles lit. It was very what I wanted atmosphere wise, and so that was nice. I had my mom and my mother-in-law and my 3 sisters that are age wise closest to me. So it really felt like, you know, a safe environment, and that was my biggest thing, was to feel safe during my birth, and that I was not gonna die or something like that. So about 1 o'clock they checked me, and I was about an 8 centimeters dilated. So I was like, oh my God, thank you. And she said, baby's still posterior, so but you can start pushing a little bit if you get the urge. And immediately, once she gave me that permission, I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do, is push with these contractions, because resisting made it more painful. So for the next 5-ish hours, that was when it was the toughest. I definitely, because the baby's position, he was kind of coming down sideways, or his head was like crooked, and so the front of my cervix didn't fully dilate. And so we tried different positions and maneuvers for us to get his head around my cervix, because it wasn't happening without that. So a couple times, like, there were some positions in the tub where my husband was behind me, and I was on like my knees, and during a contraction he would lift my tummy up and I would bear down to kind of try to get the baby around it. I thought that was pretty hard, but the hardest part was definitely getting out of the tub to do multiple different positions to try. Midwives were like pushing against me to try to get him to move. That was really hard, and I hit a mental kind of a runner's wall. You know, I told my husband, I said, I'm done. I need you to take me to the hospital. I need you to give me medicine. I am over this. And I was crying, and I was starting to really get off my, lose my focus, because I was just exhausted by that point. Like between contractions, I was kind of falling asleep in exhaustion and kind of blowing bubbles in the water, and my husband had to like wake me up and stuff. Not really, but so that was really hard. And I remember right before they told me to go sit backwards on the toilet to try to get some more movement, I just felt this, I sat on the bed because I was stalling, honestly, and I said, God, you need to help me, because I cannot, I know I can, but there, you know, I don't want to keep going like this. I want to be done. And so there's this song from Will Reagan, and it started playing at that time, and it was like, it was exactly what I needed. And it felt like, I get chills when I say it, because it was such a divine appointment. It was exactly what I needed in that moment to get strength to move on, I guess. And even in that moment, it's a song, I'll take a moment to remember who God is and who I am. There you go, lifting my load again. And his yoke is easy, his burden is so light. It just was exactly what I need to hear, and it lifted my heart. And so when I went in the bathroom, I did say to Derek, I said, I need someone to take me seriously, like I need medicine. And then he reminded me, he's like, remember, like, God's lifting your load. I really think you can do this. I really think you can do this. And so I asked the midwives, I'm like, is there anything else I could do? You know, do I need to hang upside down? Like, what's going on? And they're like, no, just keep doing what you're doing. So we got back in the tub, and about around 6 o'clock ish, there wasn't a clock in the room, but I'm just saying reference wise of like how time went. I had no concept of time during this whole time, so I was not checking, but now afterwards I know the time frame, as people have told me. So at this point I had been pushing for about 5 hours, and so of course I was over it. And I get back in the tub, kind of regain focus, and I go to feel where he's at, because I feel him drop. So I go to feel where the baby's at, and I feel his head about second knuckle up. So he's pretty close. And so I feel his head, and that changed everything. I just, whoa, you know, I just bared down, and I said, okay, this is it. So we started he started really moving after that, because I think after I got back from the bathroom, his head had finally come out under, past the cervix. So anyway, pushing the baby out is so crazy. It was a relief to me. All the contractions that last 45 minutes felt so good. I can't explain it. It was really, labor is really hard work, and pushing is really hard work, but once he got past my cervix, it just felt really good. Like every contraction felt like actually stretching, and it felt the pressure felt good. I don't know how to explain that, but the pressure of his head moving down felt really good. And I remember like laughing, and I don't know if it looked like I was laughing because I was like bearing down, but my heart was, I was really happy. And I remember after a contraction, I would like kind of lay back on my husband and smile, and because I knew it was happening. So he was born, I wanted my husband to catch him, but right at the end, his head came out all the way, and I have my hand on his head, and the midwife's right there, so I let go of his head because his shoulders are about to come. And I remember like everyone's like right here on the tub, like I'm in the tub right here, and there's head like this. And my midwife had my hand at the time, and she's like, Jenny, you have to push this baby out right now. And I knew it was because his shoulders must be stuck. So I didn't look. I just freaking, you know that mom strength people talk about that can lift a car? That's how I felt. I was like, no, he's not stuck. He's out right now. And the other midwife like came in real quick, and she like, poof, took him out and laid him on my stomach. And he had such a cone head. Oh my gosh. And he was pretty gray or purple. The lights were low, so I couldn't really tell what hue, but he wasn't pink, obviously. So we kind of just talked to him and patted him and tickled his feet until he kind of started coughing. But wow, the relieving feeling of the baby coming out. And I'm so thankful, I mean, my situation, that I didn't get an epidural or anything, because the feeling of the relief was amazing, and I immediately was just so happy, and it was like nothing happened at all. You know, you're kind of in this love fog. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And so I only had a tiny 1st degree tear, so it was very minimal. Yeah, it was amazing. Like postpartum has been really great, as far as, other than, you know, slowly gaining back strength and whatnot. Yeah, it was just overall really good experience. I mean, I think I only said one F word the whole time during birth, but yeah, maybe next time I won't have to push for 6 hours. But who knows, you know. Right now I'm just enjoying him while he's, well, scratch that, I'm just enjoying him, because there's something to enjoy about every age. He's kind of waking up now. But anyways, I'm probably just gonna post this whole video barely edited, because I don't want to shoot it again. And yeah, I'm glad to get it out of my head while it's still fresh, and hopefully not only this video is for me, for the memory, but hopefully other people can realize, wow, I can do that. Because after birth, I was like, I did that. I freaking did that, okay? No, whether you had a cesarean, whether you had Pitocin and an epidural, whether you had Pitocin and no epidural, whether you had a hospital birth, a home birth, a birth in the woods, whatever, you're freaking a beast, because bearing a child is no joke. It's no joke, okay? And so oh. It is seriously, it's not for the faint of heart. It's hard work. So I'm just really thankful my whole experience. But because this is what you get afterwards. Say hi, buddy. Anyway, that's all.